Hi guys, welcome back to my page. So I'm still kind of turned up, you guys. I just did a video like an hour ago. I told you guys that my research study was approved by RB at my school, and I'm so excited, y'all. I'm so turned about that, y'all. Y'all just don't understand. So it's gonna take me a lot to kind of keep calm. Not only that, I'm really excited about this movie review that I'm about to do on 50 Shades Free. I did see the movie last night, and oh my gosh, y'all, I have a lot to say. So I hope y'all get ready. Hope y'all are ready for this, because I'm gonna go in. I actually took notes too, so make sure I cover everything. But so I got invited to see 50 Shades Free, a special invitation in advance screening at Universal Studios, Universal City, and it was amazing. Hopefully, you guys can hear me because I am outside. There's some background noise, so hopefully you guys can hear me. But y'all, this movie is the freaking bomb, y'all. Like, I don't know why I listened to the reviews, like other reviews where people were saying like, oh, it's not a good movie, and oh, he gets so-called quote unquote healed, which I'm gonna talk about that later on in my review. But don't listen to the hype. Don't listen to any other reviews, y'all. Listen to this review because I'm gonna be pretty accurate, be pretty thorough with the movie. And of course, this is my personal opinion as a submissive in the lifestyle myself. Like, so I'm speaking from that perspective, but I do have a lot to say on this topic. So hopefully I can focus because I, like I said, I'm in my school and I'm outside, so it's like kind of lunchtime too. So people are like walking by, but y'all, this movie, when I say like she did an awesome job with this movie. Like I love the storyline, and I just love it, y'all. I don't know what else. I don't know what to say. Like I love it. Overall, I love the movie. So the movie opens with it's a beautiful opening in the movie, and it opens with Christian and Anastasia. They are getting married, so they're exchanging marital vows to each other. And I was kind of upset because like the part when Christian was saying his vows, like first of all, the theater I was at, it was really packed. There's a lot of people there, and the guy that was sitting behind me, he kept kicking my freaking chair, and y'all know how distracting that is. Like I was so freaking upset. He kept kicking my chair. So the part when Christian was saying his vows to Anastasia, like I got distracted, and I'm like, I really wanted to hear him say that. Like it kind of threw me off. It messed me up a little bit, but I was able to kind of refocus my attention and get back into the movie, right? And then I heard Anastasia said her vows and they got married, and it was just beautiful. Like the opening scene was just beautiful, for it was pretty strong, very strong opening. And after the wedding, of course they have a honeymoon, and of course Christian, he has a lot of money, right? He's pretty wealthy, and they go to, I don't know what country they went to. At first I thought it was like Rio de Janeiro. I don't know what country it was they went to, but they went to this really nice country for their honeymoon. It was nice. What I did notice though, that Christian, he picked up some weight, so he looks a little bit bigger than what he was in the first two parts. And I'm like, what's going on with Christian? But I guess that's maybe part of the character in the movie because, like they say, when you get married, you know how it is. I mean, guys settle down, and even women too. Like they pick up extra pounds, and a lot of times don't really focus on their body image as much. I guess because they feel like, oh, I'm in love. I got somebody, so they're gonna love me for me. I don't know, but it seemed like Christian Grey, like his stomach, he had like some stomach weight. You guys can kind of see that in the movie. I saw it in IMAX, y'all, and like it was, y'all. It's a great movie. It's a great storyline, and I have to warn you guys that this is a spoiler alert. So sorry, but I do have some details I'm going to go into about the movie, and it may kind of give some parts away. So if you guys haven't seen it, sorry. But if you're interested in hearing the spoiler alert, keep watching. Um, so yeah, that was that. Like they went on, vacation, honeymoon, and it was beautiful. Like it's just everything is going smooth, right? And I'm like, ah. And it wasn't too long into the movie where we see a turning point, right? Where we see a change of events happening. And so, kind of like in the second part where Christian is visited by someone from his past. So it's just a thing. It's a recurring theme in the movie where he it's always someone from his past that comes back, and it kind of speaks to his childhood growing up and some issues that he had a difficult childhood growing up. He grew up in foster care, and the fact that he became part of this lifestyle, BDSM, which I think that he kind of stumbled upon by accident, which they kind of talk about in the first part, but he is revisited in the third part, in the last installment. When I hear this is the last installment, I'm like, no, this is the end. But he has a revisited, right, by someone from his past. And I find it to be quite interesting because, like I said, it's a recurring theme. It happened in the second part where he was revisited. He had a visitor from his past, which was a submissive that he was, involved with. And so in the third part, the visitor is someone from his childhood, and this guy is Looney Tunes. He is freaking crazy, insane. And so he basically starts to stalk Anastasia, and he's stalking both of them, but really he's kind of like after Anastasia and trying to get up in their heads and stuff. And so in the movie, this is like early on, or maybe, I don't know, 15-20 minutes into the movie, it's not that far into the movie where they realize that they're being followed. They're out, Christian and Anastasia are out, and they realize that someone is following them, an unknown car, they don't know who it is, and then they get into this high-speed chase, right? And we're like, to me, I find it to be quite interesting because Anastasia is driving, like she's in control, she's driving, like Christian gave her permission to drive, which I find to be quite ironic because of the dynamic that they have in their relationship. Like, he's supposed to be in charge, supposed to be the dominant one, but yet he's giving her a little bit more control. So that's what you begin to see in this movie, in this part where she gets a little bit more control in the relationship. And so she's driving the car, and it's just, I don't know, it seemed weird to me, the fact that, okay, they're in a high-speed chase, and I guess you don't expect a woman to kind of save the day, so to speak, and get them out of trouble, but she does, and he's guiding her because he's in the passenger seat, and he's like, just take off, keep going, go as fast as you can, and lose this guy, just like lose him. And so she put the pedal to the metal and got going real fast or whatever, and she lost him. But what really got my attention and what kind of confused me after that was what happened after that was where, like, after the high-speed chase and they lose this crazy guy that's been following them, they go into a parking lot and have sex. And I'm like, what in the world? You guys comment below if you guys seen the movie. If you guys haven't seen the movie, feel free to comment below. If you've seen the first 2 installments, comment below. Let me know what you think about 50 Shades Freed. But I find it be quite ironic that at that point, right, like, they just finished a high-speed chase. She's all riled up, right? She's all, like, her emotions are all up. And I'm trying to, like, make sense of it. Like, okay, after the high-speed chase, they go into some parking lot and have sex, and she's like, I'm horny, and she wants to get on top of him. She jumps on top of Christian while they're in the car, and they have sex, and she's on top of him, and they're having sex. And I'm like, okay, so I guess she wasn't afraid at that point. Like, maybe she didn't know who he was, so she wasn't really afraid, but she was excited. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't get, like, how you go from being excited, to the point where you're excited for your life and you're fearful of your life. Something might happen, to the point where she is, like, sexually excited, right? And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. So I was kind of confused about that part. So to the writer of this movie, I'm like, it kind of threw me for a loop there, but I stayed, I kept my focus in the movie. I kept watching. I'm like, okay, it has to be more to it than this. And so, like I said, it's a recurring thing. This guy just keeps popping up in their lives. They just got married, and they're trying to live happily ever after, right? And this guy out of nowhere just keeps popping up. So Christian gets security protection for Anastasia. They have this beautiful home, and Anastasia's like, what is this? I don't need security. And he's like, no, you're going to have security. So he hires, I think, a woman and a man to protect Anastasia wherever she goes, like work, wherever she goes. Like, she always has someone there to protect her. And so one day, Anastasia, and I like this about her because there are parts in the movie where she actually stands up and she asserts her right as a woman, her right to choose, right? And so, like, for people who are not familiar with the lifestyle, usually, it's it's the dom who takes control in the relationship, and it's for a good reason. And usually it's the dom who makes all the decisions. But however, Anastasia, you can see like the development of her character from the first movie to the third part in the series, because she's a little bit more assertive, a little bit more confident. She is not afraid to express herself and say, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. So I like that about her growth and her character in the movie. And so he tells her that he tells her to come straight home, go to work and come straight home, right? Good, right? What submissive wouldn't want to listen to that, right? What submissive wouldn't want to hear those kinds of words come from their dom like that, right? It kind of reassures the submissive that, okay, he cares about her, he has her interests at heart, he wants to protect her, right? But what does Anastasia do? She does what she wants to do. So she did not come straight home when he gave her that order, and she decided to hang out with her friends. I think they went to a club or something, right? And it's funny because, mind you, now she has security, and the guy that Christian hires to be her security, like, of course, he has to answer to Christian because he's working for Christian. So anything that Anastasia does, like, he has to be accountable for her behavior and her whereabouts and everything. And so she's on the elevator coming home, and she tells the security guy, she's like, don't tell Christian, where I was. Can we keep this to ourselves? And he's like, he already knows. Like, everybody laughs in the movie theater at that part because it's funny, It's like she thinks that she has some control over the situation when really, like, I guess it's an illusion of control that she think that she has. So he already knows that she did not come straight home, and so when she finally gets there, I guess she thinks that everything is all good, like they're good, right? And then they go into their little playroom. For you guys who don't know, it's like a room that he built. It has a whole bunch of toys, and it is like a BDSM theme room, right? So you have whips, and you have chains, and you have all of these, what do you call the thing where it's like an X and the dom like straps the female to the X? I forget what it's called, but it has one of those in there, and just all these different little gadgets that they use to play. And so he straps her to that, and she's standing up, so her arms are secured, her legs are secured. She can't move, and she thinks, I guess, that they're getting ready to play, but really he disciplines her. And let me tell you guys how he disciplines her. It's so funny. So she thinks that they're there to play, but he takes a vibrator and he rubs it on her vagina, on her clit, and she starts to get aroused. And then after that, like, she just stops. Like, he just stops stimulating her, and and she's like, stop it. And then, oh my god, I hope you guys didn't hear him. Maybe I didn't pick the best spot, but she's like, I think she uses her safe word, so she says red, and then he stops, and she just goes onto the bed and starts to cry. And she's like, why did you do that to me? And he's like, he didn't appreciate what she did to him because he had gave her a direct order to come straight home. She didn't come straight home, and so that made him feel like he was losing power. So his attempt to regain power was to do that to her. And, it made her cry, and it made her feel powerless, that she couldn't get her orgasm off or whatever. I find that part to be funny. It was really exciting to see that. So I'm just reading my notes. Okay, so like I said, this guy, Jake, he is an interesting character because he comes like out of nowhere, right? And for a while in the movie, the writer, she forces us to kind of figure things out, or to keep us in suspense, right? To figure out, like, okay, who is this guy and why is he pursuing Anastasia? Why is he even pursuing this couple in the first place? Like, what does he want? He has to want something, right? So he keeps popping up, and then there was a time that he actually approached Anastasia. He popped up out of nowhere. I forget where they were, but he had a knife to her neck, right? So he pretty much attempted to take her life, but she was able to escape from that. And there comes a point in the movie, I think I'm kind of skipping around, so fill in the gaps if you guys have already seen it, but that was just one instance. You know, it was like he came for her several times, and that was just one time where he had the knife to her neck, and it's like, oh shit. Like at that point, you really think that he's gonna do something, but it's like he can't kill her. It's like too soon, I think, in the movie for him to take her out. So she doesn't die at that point when he holds her with the knife at her neck. But there comes a point in the movie, and I know you guys, this is kind of obvious, right? Like, you know, it's kind of expected this is going to happen, that they're married, you know, they're having all this sex. So she finds out that she's pregnant. Like, she starts to throw up. She goes to the bathroom, she throws up, and then she goes to her doctor and takes a pregnancy test, and the doctor says that she's pregnant. Now, this is the part I don't like, y'all. Like, this is the part that had me bent out of shape, because she tells Christian that, you know, I'm pregnant. I don't know where they're, like, I think they're at home, they're having a conversation on the couch, and she's like, you know, I'm pregnant. Hope you guys can hear me, because if not, I'm going to do this video all over again. I hope I don't. But she's like, I'm pregnant. And his reaction, y'all, is what tripped me up. I mean, it made me upset, but then it was kind of like more of a comforting feeling to know that, okay, it's not just women of low SES that go through this, you know, women in poverty, so supposedly that experience, you know, deadbeat dads or men who kind of get this sense of fear when a baby comes in the picture, right? So she tells him, you know, I'm pregnant, and his reaction, y'all, like, if you were her, you literally want to just go and slap this man. But I pride Anastasia in her ability to, like, keep herself restrained, even though she's, like, really upset and really angry, and she's feeling very, very vulnerable, because, I mean, come on now, what woman wouldn't be? You found out that you're pregnant, you know. And for Christian, he's like, I'm going to tell you guys, this is his reaction. He's like, I'm not ready for a baby. I forewarn you that I only want you to myself. I don't want to share you with anyone. This is what he told her. Like, I told you, I don't want a baby right now. Not that he didn't want a baby at all, but he's like, I don't want a baby right now. I told you that I want to keep you to myself and not share you with anybody. Right? And being that she got pregnant, you know, that would mean that she would have to, he would have to share her, you know, obviously with their child. And so, y'all, I'm just sitting here listening to him like, dude, you cannot be freaking serious. I mean, I get the whole readiness part, but the fact that, okay, if a woman tells you she's pregnant, that's the last thing she needs to hear. You know, that, oh, like, you're disappointed. Like, he was literally disappointed, and he became upset with her. Like how the hell you become upset at your partner that you laid down with? It takes two, right, to tango. It takes two to get someone pregnant. He got upset with her and angry with her because she tells him that she has a baby on the way. Like, she found out she's pregnant. And I think I got angry. I'm like, I got angry for her, because I mean, I'm putting myself in her shoes, you know. And I'm like, dude, I know if I was pregnant, I tell a guy that I'm pregnant, and then that's his reaction, I don't know if I want to be as calm, right? But she handled that. I, like, really pride her in her ability to, like, restrain herself and handle it in a very mature way. So, I mean, she just cried. She went off to herself, and she hid herself in the playroom, and he was looking for her. And she just broke down, and she just cried, and she was laying down, and I'm just like, oh, it's like this freaking asshole, you know? And that's not even the end, y'all. Like, after that, this fool goes out and gets drunk. He hangs out the entire night, doesn't come home, gets drunk, and when he returns, she's like, where you been? Right? And he's all stumbling in the house and shit like that. And he tells her, well, not even that he tells her, Anastasia notices an unread text message on his phone that says, thanks for a good night. I'm here, pretty much in this area, that I'm here for you anytime. I'll be here for you anytime, right? From his ex-mistress, Elena, I think her name is. And she reads it, and she's like, what the hell? You know, it's not bad enough that he kind of ran off when she gave him this information that she's pregnant, but for him to kind of fall in the arms of his ex-mistress. Now, the lady that he hung out with, he got drunk with and hung out with after that same night when she told him that she was pregnant. This lady is the one who introduced, I think she actually is the one who had sex with him and kind of introduced him to this whole lifestyle. So she, in a sense, was not a good person in his life, but somehow he felt comfortable going back to her because that was his, I guess, reference of comfort. That's in his mind. He can go to her, I guess, for support. So that's what he did. And she's like, what the hell? I read the text message and this is where you were. Like I tell you, I'm pregnant and this is how you respond. You go back and you lay with this woman. Like she's already jumping the gun, as most women do, right? Like, I mean, I think when things like that happen, a situation like that happens and presents itself, I think most women just go to the extreme and say, you know what, forget assuming that, okay, maybe they were just hanging out for drinks or they're just talking and phone conversation. Like she jumped to the end of the extreme, right? And pretty much said that or assumed that they had sex. And I think that it's so common. And like I said, I found that particular scene, I mean, to me, it was jarring and it was upsetting. But at the same time, it was pretty comforting to see that, okay, it's not just women or, black women, let's say, who go through these issues where they are in love with a guy, messing around with a guy, or even married, and they get pregnant and then he just disappears. Like he literally disappears. She didn't know where he went, right? And then mind you, they are married. They just got married, and mind you, like she's pregnant. So imagine just how emotionally provocative that can be for a woman, who's going through all of this at the same time. She expects him to kind of protect her, to support her, to be there for her, and it's just like he runs away. So I think that kind of goes back, because this is kind of a reoccurring theme also in the movie, where I think Christian makes an attempt, he makes an effort or a point to say that he is not a real dom, that he is just sadistic. So there is a difference between sadism and dominance, and I think for a man who is truly dominant, he can take control in all situations. Men who are dominant, they don't just react, when they are under a lot of stress and run away. They're able to handle the stress in a more appropriate and mature manner. Whereas with Christian, I mean, you see some kind of behaviors in him that make you question, him as an adult, right? Not only just as a man, but you're like, okay, I know your ass ain't dominant because you freaking running away when I tell you I'm pregnant. Like, you don't do that. Like, that's not a man. There's nothing dominant about that. And, there's definitely nothing manly about that, right? And so, like I said, that's a reoccurring theme that makes you kind of question, okay, who is this guy, right? And just putting yourself in, because I think I put myself in Anastasia's shoes because I'm a submissive myself. And so I can, not only that, but I feel like our personalities are similar in a lot of ways. And so I'm looking at the movie through her eyes, experiencing it through her lens. And I'm just like, this fucker, I kind of wanted to, I wanted to get revenge for her, right? But the movie, I'm going to get along to the ending. The movie is, it's a great movie, a perfect ending. Okay, where am I? So, after that situation, where are you guys watching from? You guys are pretty quiet, by the way. But after that situation, Christian, he, of course, like most men do, try to reassure her, like, everything is okay. I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. He tries to comfort her and basically explain his rationale for going out and getting drunk and hanging with this freaking ex-mistress of his. It's like, you do not do that, Like, if you know you had sex with a woman previously, right? And even if you guys are still on good terms, that doesn't mean that when you have problems with your girlfriend or with your wife that you go back to this woman. Like, you definitely wouldn't want her to do that to you. So don't do that to her. That's, to me, I feel like the ultimate no-no. That's the ultimate no-no. All right, so the movie keeps going along, and Anastasia gets a call from Jake. Now, that's kind of interesting, like to see their relationship, right? Because you have this guy who was pursuing Christian and Anastasia and pretty much harassing them and stalking them, and you wonder, like, what is his role in her life? What does he want from Christian, and how does he like have her phone number, So we come to find out that, oh my gosh, y'all, we come to find out that later in the movie, Anastasia makes it clear that Jake is pretty much lying, because he says that they had sex and that she left him and all of this stuff, and so it was more of a manipulative thing that he was trying to do. But I'm gonna get into like the real reason why he came for them, and so pretty much I'll get into it right now. So he calls Anastasia and basically says that he has her sister, I think her sister-in-law, and wants $5 million for ransom. And this shit is freaking crazy. We're like, what in the hell? What an interesting turn of events, right? And the writer of the movie still doesn't tell us at that point, when he asks for the $5 million ransom money, we still don't quite know why, and like his relationship to them, and what is this about? Like, why is he targeting this particular couple? And so Anastasia, like, being that she, I guess, wants to protect her friend, or, her sister in the movie, because of course, she doesn't want her to die. You get a call like that saying, hey, I got your family member. Hey, I got your friend. Give me $5 million. And I think for them, as, a very wealthy couple, $5 million is probably chump change anyway, right? So she's like, I'm going to fight for her. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this money to him, right? So she goes to the bank and pulls $5 million out. And at this point, Christian is just like, what's going on, Anastasia? You're at the bank and you're trying to pull money out. And she's crying. And he's like, I know you're not yourself. What's going on? And she didn't really tell him exactly at that point, when she was at the bank trying to pull the money out. She didn't tell him what was going on. She was just like crying and sounding all, scared and stuff. And so Christian basically gives permission to the people at the bank to say, the guy who works at the bank, I guess they have like a personal banker, and he tells him, whatever Anastasia wants, whatever she asks you, just give it to her. And so that would mean to go ahead and release the funds. And so he went ahead and gave her the $5 million in cash, right? It's a bag of money. And I mean, this is where I think, I guess this is where they come in with their creative license, because you ask yourself, like, will something like this really happen in real life, right? Chances are, I mean, things like this do happen, but how likely is something like this to happen, in real life? So you can tell points in the movie where she's using her creative license, and you're like, okay, this is just fucking Hollywood right here. And so she shows up with the money and sees that her sister, this girl, is tied up in a chair. Her mouth is covered. And when you think about it, like the scene, the visual image of it reminds you of a BDSM scene. You're like, okay, perfect placement, right? You're like, okay, this is interesting. The girl, but it's not anything fun because she didn't ask to be in that chair. It was not a mutual consent. She's like, get me out of this freaking chair. Like, I want to get away, right? Because she's fearful for her life. And this guy is like, I don't think she knows who this guy is at that point. But Anastasia somewhat has an idea, but she doesn't even quite know who this guy is. And then meanwhile, while all of this is happening, Christian has his team of investigators doing some research on this guy to figure out who he is. And as the story develops, we come to find out that Jake is actually a kid that he grew up with. He didn't even know that he grew up in the same foster home with Jake. And so it's interesting because you hear Jake say, like, oh, that could have been me, as if like Christian took something that belonged to Jake. And essentially, in a way, from his perspective, he did, because Christian ended up getting adopted by, I guess, a good family and taken in a good home. And it happens where not all kids get adopted. It's very unfortunate because, me, of course, you guys know I work in the field, and one of my first jobs was working with kids in foster care who were wards of the state, and they were in a residential treatment program. And you get to see, like, working there for a period of time, you see kids come and go, you see kids get adopted and they get taken into families, and you see some kids, they don't get adopted. It's like nobody wants them, because when they look at their file and they see some of the behaviors and some of the issues that this child is dealing with, they're like, they don't want to really take on that permanent responsibility of adopting the child. So it's very unfortunate that kids in foster care a lot of times just age out of the foster care system, and they never get adopted, never get a family at all. And so that's what happened to Jake. He never got adopted. You guys can hear me about the background noise, but Jake had never got adopted by a family, but Christian did, although they grew up in the same foster care family. And the pictures, it's funny because he got his investigators to do some really good research, and they found a picture of him with his foster family, and he was like, wait, that's me, that's Jake. He's like, and then she was like, you guys were a part of the same foster family? He's like, I guess, excuse me, he's like, I guess, but I don't remember because that was so many years ago. So he didn't really remember much from childhood. And so I found that part to be quite interesting, because that kind of speaks to the mental illness and what's going on in a person's head. Like, you can see the trajectory of how growing up in foster care can definitely take a toll on a person if they don't have the right proper support in place. So you get to see the parallel between what happened to Jake, being that he never got adopted, and he probably had a much tougher life than Christian, obviously, who did get adopted, and he has all these millions of dollars. So Jake, when you see him, he looks fucked up. He looks like he's on drugs, maybe heroin or something. Like his skin looks really rough and really bad. And then you look at Christian, and he has all this money, and he looks sexy, and has all this wealth and positive things going for himself, and you're like, damn, that's fucked up. But me, of course, being a psychologist that I am in training, like, I have to analyze things and look at it from different perspectives. So I'm looking at it like, okay, yes, on the outside, on the surface, it appears as though one is doing better than the other. When you look at Christian and you look at Jake, you're like, okay, Christian, he's doing better. He looks better, but psychologically, can we say that? Psychologically, if you know that both of these men, if you trace back their history growing up, and you see that Christian had obviously grew up in the same household, in the same foster household, where it was tough and there was abuse and all this bad stuff going on. I mean, no, when you think about foster care, like, it's not good. It's a lot of stuff that you see that sometimes isn't even worth repeating, and it makes you wonder, like, psychologically, is there much of a difference between Christian and Jake? That's what popped up in my head, especially when it was revealed in the story that they actually grew up in the same household. And we come to learn the reason why Jake is pursuing them. Why is he stalking them? Why is he trying to, hold this girl for ransom? And we find out, okay, that's why, because he's jealous. He's developed this sense of, jealousy towards Christian and the lifestyle that he was able to create. And not only that, he's married and has a beautiful wife, So we see that it was just out of jealousy. That was Jake's motive for doing this, besides money, obviously. And so, like I say, she shows up with the money, and she tells Jake, she's like, the money is in the car. So I have what you want. But Jake apparently wants something more. It wasn't just, I guess, money that he wanted. He wanted, I guess, a sense of control, of dominance, of power. And so he did that to her. He had this power play where he was slapping her around. He didn't just take the money and leave and let the girl who he had in bondage go. He's slapping her around, and he slapped her on the ground. She fell on the ground. And mind you now, she's still pregnant. Anastasia is pregnant. and she falls on the ground. And I guess looking at it from a viewer's point of view, like, okay, you don't know what's going to happen. She don't know if she's going to lose the baby. You got all these concerns, like, oh gosh, what happened, what's going to happen to her. And so when she showed up with the money before she left the house, she actually took the gun. I think this is pretty interesting too, but she took the same gun from Christian's house. It's the same gun that in the second part, his ex-submissive had and pulled on her. So the same gun that Christian's ex-submissive came and to pull on Anastasia because she was jealous. Anastasia uses that same gun to protect herself when she goes to deliver the ransom money. And so she's on the ground, right, kind of fighting for her life and almost halfway out of it. She pulls the gun from her back, from the back of her jeans, and she points it at Jake and she shoots him, and then he falls down. Then the police pull up and they arrest him, and she's taken off to the hospital to recover. And Christian shows up, and it's like, it's a relief to see that she didn't lose the baby. So that was like a very comforting thing to know, like, okay, great, she doesn't lose the baby, because she could have lost the baby, and it's just like, fuck, but she didn't. And I think that is so interesting. How much time, where are we at? Wow, I'm moving pretty fast. I'm doing pretty good. So I'm almost finished with my review, but because I kind of covered like majority of the movie, so you guys have like a good sense of what's happening in the movie. But this is pretty much the ending of the movie, where we see, like, after she's released from the hospital, the final image that we see on screen, the final scene, is that they are at a park, I believe. They're sitting out, and there's a little boy, I think he's maybe like age 2, running around. And so obviously that's the first son that she had, the first child that she had when she was pregnant. But she's also pregnant again. Like, you see her, she's sitting, and her belly is pretty big, maybe 6-7 months pregnant. And it's just like, and at that point when we see, I think first the camera shows the son, the little baby that she had, when she went through all that bullshit. And then the camera goes to her stomach, and we see her stomach, and she's pregnant again. And when everybody in the audience sees that, especially the women, they're like, oh, like everybody just melts when they see like she's pregnant again. So it's just like the perfect love story, you guys. That's why I say, like, I love what the writer did with this freaking story, this movie, because I don't know, it's very motivating. Like, I feel like it came at a perfect time, especially in my life, because at the time, I think the first one was released, was it 2015, I think? I had been in the lifestyle for a year. And so I kind of had a background understanding, a little bit of understanding of what it looked like, what it felt like even to be a submissive. And so when she released the movie, I'm just like, perfect timing, and then to see that she continued with the series and released part 2 and then now part 3, I'm just like, oh, this is so beautiful, you guys. It's just amazing to see how their love evolved, how it started off in the beginning, where it was kind of more focused on about what Christian wanted, him so-called asserting his dominance over her and power over her, to it evolved to, you get to see her assert what she wanted, right? And we get to see her get pleased and get some satisfaction from it. So it wasn't always about Christian. And not only that, but we see that it's bigger than just BDSM and sex. And I think that is one of the main issues that we see in this lifestyle and among couples or within relationships, is that a lot of people, especially men, are so sex driven, and they put a lot of focus on the sex aspect as opposed to the relational aspect of it, which I feel like is more psychological than anything. And the fact that he decided to commit to her and make her his wife, like he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her, I feel that's beautiful. I mean, it works for Hollywood, but I think in real life, especially when we look at some of the aspects of this movie, it makes me question, like, okay, I don't know if there's going to be a part 4, but if there was going to be a part 4, it makes me wonder, like, okay, we know it's not going to be all peaches and cream and it's going to end like they're going to live happily ever after. It cannot be that way, especially when we know that Christian does have some problems psychologically. For him, I mean, when we dial it back and go back to when she initially told him that she found out she was pregnant with her first child, and see his reaction, it's just like, wait a minute, that is a red flag right there. To me, that would be the biggest red flag, to know that something is wrong, because this guy, like, come on, is that how you handle stress? You run, you know? Like, that's not a good thing, you know, especially when it comes to building trust with the person, and like, you want to strengthen the relationship, and the fact that he just got married, and you seeing like things like that early on in the marriage, is like, wait a minute, you know, it makes you wonder how things are going to be handled, like issues and problems are going to be handled down the road. You know, if he's going off to some woman to get comfort because he's stressed out that he has a baby on the way, he's like, I'm not ready to be a father. That's what he tells us, like, I'm not ready to be a father. You know I'm not ready to be a father. It's like, dude, you fucking own this freaking multi-million-dollar fucking company. How the hell you not ready? You can be a father to that company, then your ass can raise a goddamn baby, you know? That's just maybe me, my bias, being a woman, but that really upset me. I'm just like, wait a minute. So that also like made me think like, okay, yes, although the movie had a very happy ending, it's just like, oh, the perfect love story, right? It still makes some things still resonate and make you wonder like, you know, is it really all that good? It makes you wonder like, what else you got to go through? Because just think about it, with these recurring themes, people from his past, like his past coming back to haunt him, that is a recurring theme in the movie. And you're like, okay, I mean, yes, we all have a past, or we all have baggage that we deal with, but the fact that, like, the stuff that his past and the baggage, with how his baggage looks like, it's like, I don't know if I would be willing to deal with that baggage. And it also speaks to the whole notion about how women sometimes think that, oh, I'll just marry rich, right? Just, you know, marry rich and everything would be great. And it's just like, okay, maybe Anastasia thought that. Like, in her mind, she's like, oh, she was an intern when she met him. She was very young. This man is like well established. So she's like, oh, okay, you know, I got me a man, I got money, I'm gonna be taken care of and everything like that, right? Like, he's treating her to like the best, the finest things in life, the finest restaurants. They're going on like freaking very expensive vacations that probably cost like tens of thousands of dollars and stuff like that. Like, he's really investing in her and the relationship, you know, flying freaking private planes, like giving her the world, anything that a woman probably could want, he gave to her, you know. And you see that, but you also see like, okay, at what cost does she have to freaking pay to get that, right? And we see even in the second one, I mean, not even the second, but in the first one, we see some issues that she had to deal with, you know, with his over controlling and his insecurities and stuff like that. And that's when she was just exposed to the lifestyle videos. She had no clue what she was getting herself into. I think that part of her was like, okay, I like this, but part of her was like, I'm unsure about this, right? But he ushered her into the lifestyle. It was kind of amazing how he got her to become this submissive. He got her to become a woman who listened to him, and not only listened, but she desired the discipline, you know, more than he did. So in the third part, you see where she's asking him to get spanked. She's asking him like, hey, I'm ready, master. You know, I'm ready to serve you. I'm ready for you to use me as you may. You know, and that's just the most beautiful thing. But like I say, at what cost? You know, at what cost does she have to freaking pay to deal with all that and to go through all of that freaking hell? You know, especially what we see in the second part where we got his ex-submissive coming for her. She just pops up with a gun, like freaking deranged, crazy bitch, right? Just pops up and like pointing a gun at Anastasia, and he has to come in and subdue her, you know, subdue his ex-submissive to take the gun away from her because she is freaking out of her mind, you know. I guess she hated to see that he left her and moved on, you know, which also speaks to another aspect of this whole dynamic of being a submissive, and how, yes, it can be psychologically damaging. I feel that's why I want every female submissive to be careful when you're entering into relationships with men. It's like, you give a lot. I feel like people don't understand how much of a big of a gift submission is, you know, in the context of BDSM. You're giving all of this to a person, and for them just to take it and run away with it, and they don't give you anything back, you're like, wait a minute, that can trigger any kind of freaking psychotic break in a person. And she literally, you can tell, like, she had a psychotic break. She lost it. She got the gun and wanted to kill freaking Anastasia. So that was one instance where his past came back to haunt him. And then here we have again in the third part where we have this guy Jake from his childhood, who's jealous of him and his success. And he's just like, wait a minute, this man is crazy. So it made me wonder, like, damn, that is a cautionary tale. Yes, this is a beautiful love story. I call it, a beautiful love story, but it's a cautionary tale in the same token, because we just have to be careful, women. You got to be careful with these men. It can look very beautiful on the outside, and it did. He has his own enterprise, like multi-million-dollar, probably billion-dollar company, right? And has all these employees working for him, all this freaking wealth and success. And you're like, okay, is it worth it? To have to, like, or you ask yourself, okay, what is underneath all of that? What else do I have to freaking put up with, And when it comes to risking your life, like the fact that this man, like, he slapped her around and she fell on the ground, like, it could have been a lot worse. You get what I'm saying? Like, her life is in danger. Her life is in danger, and she's risking her life for love. That's what it makes me wonder, and I question that, But I want to address the whole point about how some reviewers who, I guess, saw the movie a couple weeks ago, they were like, oh, he got healed. I heard that from a few people, and I think it was like some media outlets who said that, and I'm just like, he got healed. I don't see how he got healed. Healed, I think someone said they thought that I said killed. I said, no, not killed, healed. Like, you got better, you got healed. And I don't see that. I don't see where, I do see a development in his character. So he doesn't really have as much compulsion to be dominant and in control that he had in the beginning. I feel that, and luckily with her submission, I feel like maybe her submission helped develop his character and give him a little bit more ego strength and a little bit more confidence and security within himself to just be a human being and not necessarily always have to be in control all the time, where he felt in the beginning where he did need that sense of control because he didn't have it, I feel like. So that is an aspect, of BDSM, and often it's a question. People in the lifestyle, they wonder, like, okay, you're a dom, you like to be in control, but there's a question as to what is driving your need to feel in control all the time. What is it that was lacking in your childhood that is making you feel like you need to be in control? On the flip side, of course, not every single person who's in the lifestyle or dom necessarily had a freaking bad childhood, or has some deficit that they are lacking, that's causing them to want to fill that deficit or that fucking hole that they feel that they need, But with him, apparently, because the writer, she set it up this way to say that, okay, he was abused as a child, he grew up in foster care, so it's easy to understand why he would have that compulsion to be in control, to want a strong desire to want to be in control, not just in control, I guess, professionally, but in his private life as well, in his personal life, and that's the reason why he chose Anastasia, because it's just interesting to see, and it reminds me, like, even of the ending of the movie, how the movie ends is so beautiful. And I forget the name of the song. I should have wrote it down, but they play this beautiful song at the end. I love it. And while they're playing this song, the writer takes us back, gives us kind of some flashbacks over their life as a couple and how it developed and how, they initially met. And I just find it to be it's beautiful. Like, when they first met, like, she stumbled into his office. She was so nervous, and I feel like that's what attracted her to him. That's how he became attracted to her, was because he saw that in her. He saw that kind of naivety in her. Like, she was very naive. She was very, I guess, she didn't have much exposure, I guess, to a lot of experiences in life, and so he saw that in her, and I wouldn't say he necessarily took advantage, because in my book, taking advantage would just be okay, just having sex with her. But he took her in, he took care of her. You know, he took care of this woman. I feel like that's why it's a beautiful love story, because you got men that will see a weakness in a woman, right? Will see that she's shy and she's really reserved or naive, and they will take that shit and run with it. You hear what I'm saying? And use it to what they can benefit from, but they're not willing to give anything back to the other person, you know, in response to that. It's just like, what can I get? You know, I can use her for my benefit, but they ain't giving shit back. You know, they don't want to take care of a woman. They don't want to provide for her safety and security. You know, he took care of this woman. You know, he made sure she was protected and safe, and he loved her, and it's just beautiful, you guys. It's just beautiful. But that's all I have to say about this movie. At least I think I do. I'm about to get ready to head home. I'm gonna definitely see it when it comes out next week in theaters. I mean, I saw it last night. It was an advanced screening, a private screening that I got invited to. It was an IMAX, and it was free. I mean, anything's free is great, right? But I'm like, I want to go back. I want to see it when it comes out in theaters. I'm gonna go pay to go see it, because it's worth the money, and it's worth it. You know, if it wasn't worth it, I wouldn't be taking the time to do this review and saying as much as I'm saying about it. But this movie is worth going to see in theaters. I know there's a lot of critics that are like, oh, it's not worth it, don't waste your time. And you got a lot of people who are in the lifestyle, practice BDSM, and it's like, oh, that's a soft version of BDSM. That's not real BDSM. The writer doesn't know what she's talking about, da 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 da. But I'm like, I think she has it. She has a flavor of BDSM. You can see it throughout the movie. It's woven throughout the movie and within the characters. So I feel like it's beautiful. I don't really have any complaints. I'm kind of surprised that I don't, I guess, have any complaints or criticisms as much. Only like the one I feel like I have was the one I mentioned earlier about how they go from a high-speed chase being followed by this guy to having sex in a car. Like, that's my only criticism. But besides that, I feel like the movie, I mean, the script was very well written. The production value is awesome. Like, I love when they're in the plane and they're flying, and you can just see like the money that he has. Like, I feel like that's one of the most attractive features, I think, about the movie and about the relationship between him and her. It's just beautiful. I mean, what woman doesn't like to see a beautiful love story, you know, and to see a guy who's very successful, well established, you know. And I feel like it's even more attractive to see that he has that edge, right? He's not a straight edge guy, but he has that kind of hood sense about him, right? Where you can tell like he's been through some things, you know. I like that shit. You get what I'm saying? Because he has a frame of reference to pull from, you know, and it's just beautiful. So that's what I have to say. And I'm about to go ahead and end this video. Feel free to share your comments below. You guys were pretty quiet in this video, but maybe you guys will come with comments later. And I know a lot of you guys are probably like, what is she talking about? Because some of you guys haven't even seen the first part, you know, let alone the third one. But I've seen all three. It's beautiful. I think I own both the part 1 and part 2, but I'm just can't wait till the part 3 comes out on DVD, because y'all know I'm be one of the first people to buy it. Can't wait. Yes, I am sold on this movie. Like, she got me. I love this story, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It makes you want to be Anastasia. Alright, let me go. I'm gonna catch you guys later on this freaking noise. But thank you guys for watching this. Share this video and share your comments below about what you guys think about the ending of the movie, and or anything you guys want to say about the movie. Feel free to share it below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Alright, talk to you guys later. Bye.